Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Messi and Co. A little bit of a sadder episode than normal, perhaps. But I am Ashley here with my amazing co host, Gian, and we are going to be talking about a lot as it relates to the game that just happened between New York Red Bulls and Inter Miami, where we lost 4-0 in what can be only described as a bad game and a bad performance. But as always, Gian, how are you? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm super happy. Yes, ecstatic, super happy. No, I mean, I didn't think that this was going to be a 4-0 for Miami, much less a 4-0
Yeah.
for New York. That was just insane what we just watched right now. Completely out of character for Inter Miami. Just bad all
But
around. So
is it really that
I,
out of
I,
character?
I mean, we haven't seen this so far this season. We haven't seen this. I think, and I think that it's a lot of things that happened wrong. There's
Yeah.
so many things that we can talk about there. It's not, this isn't a game where you can just blame Tata. This isn't a game where you can just blame us missing players. This isn't a game where you can just blame like effort or individual performances. This is all across the board. Like there's so much to unpack in today's game. It's just crazy. But I'm here for the Inter Miami therapy session, so we can kind of let it all out and feel better for the rest of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when we saw the weather this morning, it was cold and rainy. That didn't make me feel good going into the game. But yeah, I mean, I think the easiest and the best thing I could say, and maybe the least damning thing I can say is that just New York wanted it more than us. Every player on it, New York wanted it more than every player on Inter Miami. And look, we were missing a lot of our starting players. But the players that we were not missing, that were starting, that are our starters, I thought some of them had really, really bad games. And I would like to, hear what people thought about, maybe some, not just the team overall, but about some individual performances. Because on a game like today, when you're playing with out a lot of, those hard workers on your team, you're playing in a tough environment. You're relying on expertise and leaders on the field. I think that Inter Miami really lacked that, and I think no one really stepped up. But I'll be interested to hear what people think. I'll give my thoughts on a couple players in a minute, but I'll start by saying just overall, nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it on the field. No, the substitutions gave a little bit of life, but nobody, every single, in the first half, the main thing I thought was, wow, every single pass Inter Miami is passing has been intercepted by Red Bull, and every pass Red Bull made it to another Red Bull player. Every single one. And you can only blame so much on, it's on our starters, or, it's raining, or whatever. Well, they didn't have Emil Forsberg, and they didn't have their number one goalie, and they didn't have Alec Burks, and they didn't have a lot of players, and they managed to pass it to each other. So it's, that's where I'm at. What about you?
I think that, we were missing. Okay, so we talk so much about Messi missing in the game and how important Messi is to Inter Miami. But in this game, I would go ahead and say that they missed Gomez and they missed Redondo more than they missed Messi, because you've seen this team be able to jump over the hurdles and get results without Messi. But the midfield, especially when you got Suarez and you've got Taylor and you've got Campana, but the midfield, to me, more than the actual defense, the midfield to me was the bigger issue, because the midfield issues bled into both sides of the field. They bled into the offense and they bled into the defense, in my eyes. Yeah. Number one, there was no connection between the defense and the offense. There was no transition from defense to offense. It was so difficult to get something going for Suarez to get something going for Campana. A lot of times Campana had to go back into the midfield to try to get the ball. Suarez wasn't getting balls into open space or getting enough space around him for him to actually do something. And that's something that Tata had been very adamant about in the past, at least over the last couple of games, is making sure that his offensive players, when Messi is around, when Suarez is around, is making sure that they don't have to put that much effort into going into the midfield, but rather the midfield being able to make plays and to get them in positions to excel. And again, without Redondo and Gomez, you had Busquets, you had Sunderland, you had Gressel. Busquets was too busy in the defense trying to help that shaky defense. So he, at some points, could do some stuff, but he couldn't do all of it. Sunderland, that's not his game. Like, you can't compare Sunderland to what Gomez is going to bring. And then Gressel as well. Gressel has shined in some spots, but today it wasn't his individual performance. And again, just to my point earlier about it bleeding into both sides of the game, offense-wise, they weren't doing enough on the offense. There was just nothing going on there. And then on the defensive end, the defense as it is already shaky. We know that. That's not something new to us. You don't have Freire, so you have Christoph in there, so you don't have your best center back. And then you've got Alba and Taylor playing a lot higher up because they have to, because again, you don't have Messi, you don't have Redondo, you don't have Gomez. They're going to have to help on offense. So that leaves the 3 CBs by themselves. And then the midfield was almost like Swiss cheese. They were allowing a lot of balls to get in behind them. And basically New York had, how many opportunities did we see where it was just them against the center backs? And it was just a lot. So to me, that was the bigger issue here. Was the midfield was not on par. And I think that, not to get ahead of myself, but I think that there were some things that Tata could have maybe done to remediate that issue. But also it just came down to individual performances. I don't think in the midfield they were at the top of their game.
Agreed. Well, when we get to some of your comments, Sue said very bad midfield and defender. Black story. Well, that sucked. Agreed. Michael Donnelly, I'm disappointed in this team. Me too, Michael. I'm very disappointed in this team. Henry, Ash and Dion, do you think this is the worst game of Miami? I think it's the game where I think that this was very predictable in some sense. Not that we predicted this was going to happen today, but in the sense that Inter Miami have been able to get away with a few games because of having a couple brilliant players and, Suarez being able to get a brace and having a Messi or whoever. But the construction of the team, specifically our defense, has really suffered this year. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to say this, and I would really like in the comments what you guys think. And I'm not going to make it a habit of just blaming one person for a whole game, because that's just not how it works. I can name 5 people without even blinking who had very bad performances. Thomas Aviles, I think, has been horrible this year. I think, and that's a bold statement to make, but let me make something clear. This is the season where he was clearly brought in to step up, and he is to be a staple in the defense, whether he's the center back or it has to be a right back, but mainly the center back. And I can name off the top of my head every single game this season where he's made a big mistake, and where he goes, sometimes it's going to yellow card. Today it was his pass back that led to a goal. He's missed a lot of tackles. He's missed a lot of balls. Balls have gone in behind him. Christoph, but I could have told you that Christoph wasn't going to be able to handle it, and that that defenses are going to attack him. He has had bad spacing. He hasn't been able to communicate with his other center backs to make sure they're covering the ball going over the top. And he just hasn't been a leader defensively. And I'm really disappointed in how he's played so far. And we haven't really spoken about him much, but has he done anything that has made him great, or that he's really stepped up? And I've been like, wow, he was the absolute star of the defense. He hasn't. And so, he's been here all season. He's been available. He's been consistent. And he has not stepped up. And I think that's a really big problem when we're dealing with, obviously, we lost our right back. We have some injury issues with, Freire, and Alba cannot play every single game because, of his age and just the ability to rest. He is supposed to be that anchor in the defense, and he is supposed to be available and good every single game. And I really don't think he has been. And people people can give their feedback, but that's my
I'll give you my feedback right away. And you and I tend to agree on a lot of things. I'm going to disagree on you with this one. And the reason I'm going to disagree with you on this one is because I think that, yes, Aviles has had a couple bad games. I don't think he's been horrible the entire season. We've seen games where he has been on top of it, him and Freire holding it down. Until this game, this was one of the worst games we've seen on his end and really the defense as a whole. Yes, they scored 4 goals, but until we got scored on 4 times. But before this, we had only scored on 5 times. We've complimented him in several games before where he's been able to execute extremely good tackles, been able to play well out of the back. So in my eyes, he started off better. And as over the last couple of games, I think he struggled. But I wouldn't say in my eyes that he has had the worst season. I will say today's probably the worst game. He gave up a ton of 2 balls back to back, one resulting in a goal. The other one almost did, where within a matter of minutes, he had an awful game. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that he's had the worst one. But
no, it's not the worst, but I just maybe a better way of me saying it, because he has had a couple of good games, and I guess I didn't mean that every second he's played has been horrible. That's not what I mean. But what I do mean is that, like we have spoken about many times, when you have Messi, you have Busquets, you have Suarez, you have Alba, etc. Every other piece has to play their part perfectly. And while not every game has Aviles been bad, he hasn't been good every game, and he needs to. He needs to be good he needs to be consistent every single game. And there's not just today. I can name, for example, Montreal, didn't think he played well at all. Against LA Galaxy, I don't think he played very well, but we had a couple pieces of brilliance. When we've won, he's played good. But what about the times we've lost and we've drawn? We're only 6 games into the season, and he's already had at least 2 or 3 bad performances. 2 or 3 good ones, but 2 or 3 bad. And that's what I mean. You can't, that's not consistency. That's, you have to be one of those people who you're going to give a 7 or 8 out of 10 every single week, not an 8, 8, and a 2.
Yeah. So, no, I understand. I understand why you say that. And you say that because obviously him and Freire are supposed to be the pillars in the defense. So I can understand your point. I would just say I don't think that he's been awful the whole season. I think that, and I like I said, I get your point. Yeah, today he was awful. Let there be no doubt about that. Like I know that. And even Black Story says it. Yeah, I disagree. Aviles didn't play one good match except Orlando because they didn't press us. I think that's the thing though. Is it just Aviles, or is it the entire defense and not the entire defense plus the midfield?
They're not putting in a position to succeed.
That suffers when we get pressed. So that's why I wouldn't say it's just an Aviles problem. We seen early on in the season, Gomez and Busquets were having issues with the press, and they were giving away balls that ended up, I can't remember how many, but some ended up in a goal. Others were dangerous chances. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Aviles had a good game today. I think he played awful. But to this point, I think the press has been an issue for the defense and the midfield just as a whole.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Like, and that's what I in the beginning I was saying. Like, I don't want to just blame him for it because it's not just him. But I noticed it, and I texted you earlier. I wanted to say it that I just have been disappointed with him this season. I hope he gets better, because he's one of those pieces that we just need to be playing his best every game. We can't afford to some of those extra, those complementary pieces to not be playing great. But
Gressel is not a right back. So he played right back before. He's got experience. He plays midfield and he plays right back. He's not a natural right back, I would say, and that's something that is probably not where Tata wants to have him. He wants to have him in the midfield. He's shined and had his best games in the midfield. Now, luckily, Chelo from Boca Junior has finally signed that extension with Boca so that he can be loaned to Miami. He was already on his way. He's probably here already. So that's something we probably won't have to worry about him playing right back or right wing back. Hopefully for now, as we'll probably go back to a line of 4.
I hope so, because that's what I was about to say next. And there's a couple comments about it. Northern Tie Guy, it's the back 5. We look horrible in that format. Gressel looked lost, and we'll always have trouble with the back 5. I'm gonna say, I said this earlier, I'm gonna say it again, and I truly believe it, that in the next 2 or 3 months, if Tata keeps doing a back five, he's gonna get fired. And it may not be his fault necessarily. Like today, was a great example of over half of his team is gone and his starters. The center back he brought in has gotten hurt. They traded DeAndre Edlin. All of those things are not his fault, 100%. But the back five, when you have your midfield, you're asking Busquets to be playing the whole freaking field and having Suarez, etc. Like, it's not going to work. And even if the personnel and everything is not his fault, he's going to be the one blamed and the one to go, because like we can't do a back five. I know we've won a couple, and against Nashville it worked, but we also had Messi playing, and we had, but in general, like, especially because Messi has already shown this season he's not going to play every game. He's not going to come close to playing every game, by the way. I think if we get 60% of him, if he plays 60% of all competitions by the end of the year, then I think that's like what Inter Miami will be happy with.
Yeah, I have a question though for you,
Yeah.
and maybe we can ask some of you guys in the chat if you like what you think about this. How much is the issue of back five or three, and then the two wing backs, however you want to see it? How much of that is the issue, and how much is the issue individual performances? Because I mean, look at today. A lot of that was individual performances as well. So how much is it? How much can you put on the players, and how much can you actually put on the formation itself? And the reason I bring that up is because in some of these games where we saw that back five not do so good, even though, to your point, it did good in Nashville, there have been a lot of mistakes that were made, not necessarily tactic stuff. And Tata himself said a couple of I forgot what post game it was, probably like two ago. He said, I'm not hard-headed. If I saw that there was an issue with the back five or with the 5-3-2, I'd change it. But
well, every coach who says that is full of it. You have to be hard-headed to be a coach.
No, I understand that. Yeah. But I just wanted to add context to that. So I'm just interested. What do you think? What do you guys in chat think? Is it strategy, or is it like what's going on there?
Well, I think this is what I think, and I'd be curious to see what players say as well. Is that, or what the people in the comments say as well, is that it's the individual mistakes, but these individuals keep making these mistakes, and these are the personnel we have. And so you stop putting them in the positions where they're going to make this mistakes, and there's going to be huge gaps, because you're right. The mistakes are coming from individuals, but because if the mistake comes from a Christoph or an Allen or a Gressel or whoever, there's such huge gaps in the midfield because of the back five or the back three, or however you want to call it, that we're screwed. And so I think both things can be true. One, it's Tata is not playing for them. It's not, they're making theirs. But when we have a 4-3-3, players who make individual errors, we're more condensed, and there's more of an ability to make up for those mistakes. And the personnel that we have right now is dictating that having a back five and great point, constantly turning it over in the back fields and the back three in the midfield, having absolutely no control of the game, means that the problem is going to keep occurring. So both things I think are true.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting about that too is, Tata said that he not necessarily that he leans, because I asked him this question, it's not necessarily that he leans towards the five over the back four. He said he played it out of necessity because he didn't have a natural right back, with Ian Frey being injured, with Yedlin being traded, which more and more it seems like the Yedlin trade was not something that Tata wanted or advocated for. It was done.
It was due to prematurely.
It was done probably without him wanting it to be done. And so I kind of wanted to talk on that as well, because he also mentioned that he knows he has Yannick Bright that can play that position, but that he thought he was too young to give him that much responsibility. So would you have rather seen a back four with Yannick Bright as your right back over a back line of five? Because that's interesting. That's not easy.
I think today we were going to lose no matter what.
Yeah.
I think this game we were destined to lose, because just the players that we didn't have versus the players they didn't have, like our midfield was garbage. And it just, Busquets, I think Busquets didn't do anything inherently wrong, but he doesn't have it in him anymore to be able to do everything. Like, he can't. And they're asking him to. Tata continues to ask him to. I thought that the one-touch passing today was horrendous. I think that Campana had a very bad game. I thought Robert Taylor was completely non-existent, and we've talked about this before, that especially after he didn't go to Finland and that he was, I know right wing back is not his chosen position, but when we're missing players and we're in difficult situations, individual players have to show up and show out. Just like I
Yeah.
said for Aviles earlier, Taylor, Campana, etc. Like, Campana last week made the most of his moments. This week, although he wasn't put in good situations, I get it. And there was 4 Red Bull players for every 1 Inter Miami player, it seemed like, magically, even though we both had 11 on the field. Everyone was passing lazy. They weren't running after it. They weren't following through, and there was no adaptation by the team and by the coaching. And maybe that's the biggest thing, because to your point, I'm not putting all of the blame on Tata. I'm really not, because like I said, a lot of the positioning and the players available is not his fault, 100%. But he is the one who has to make the adjustments after the whistle blows for minute 1 to minute 90. He is the one in charge of putting in the right personnel, and if it's in the right format, or the right what's the word I'm thinking of? Layout,
Formation, strategy.
formation. Thank you, formation. And if by minute 20 that it's not working, minute 40 it's not working, minute 50, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, if it's not working, you have to change it, and you have to change it fast, and you have to adapt. And if you don't adapt, you're the one who's going to you're the first one to go. Like, that's just how it works. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I hope he starts being more flexible in game, because I think that's the problem. But, a couple more comments from I.R. This is not acceptable in Europe, man. Forget Europe. It's not acceptable in the MLS. Tata does not adapt to the opposition's strength. It's like press in this instance. Agreed. Doesn't adapt. Henry, finally one we realize that if Messi is around the opponent's team, they get nervous defending him. The impact of Miami is Messi. That may be true, but Messi's not playing every game. I think Messi's going to play 6 out of every 10 games for Inter Miami, 60% of them for the season. Everyone knows that, and from the coaching staff, from the team staff, and I think the players know it too. He just can't play every game. It's just impossible, especially when it comes to international tournaments. Michael, I agree with Ashley. Thank you. Ace, if the players are not able to find opportunities to find open players, then switch to tactics. It's like, what's gonna break first? Is it gonna be the formation, or is it gonna be the individuals who's gonna try and make it right first? And that's
Yeah.
gonna be the
I
problem.
think I think in regards to that, okay, so if the players are not able to find opportunities to find players and then switch to tactics, I would agree, because one of the things that I was thinking about as I was watching the game is, and again, most of us noticed that they were just not getting the ball up to Suarez and to Campana.
And they were doing these,
And
like, little behind the flicks that
yeah,
we're
yeah.
going halfway the distance.
And I feel like, tell me how you feel about this, and also you guys in chat. How would you have felt if Tata switched Gressel and Taylor a little bit? Because I feel like we needed more on defense, which Gressel would have given us. And I feel like we needed more on offense, that Taylor would have given us more on offense. Like, I don't know. I feel like you can start off like that, but as the game evolves and you see that things aren't working, like, I almost would have told Taylor,
Agreed.
I need you to go up more, and Gressel, I need you to be the one that helps more on the defensive end. And I feel like switches like that, I felt like were needed in this game and weren't done until everything
We were
broke
down
loose,
3-0.
and I think that's where kind of the light bulb went on for Tata and said, oh, maybe I should make some changes. So what do you guys think? I would have done that. I think that would have helped a little bit as far as our two needs, defense and offense.
Well, when on Thursday or on Wednesday, when we did our preview, we gave about 42 different lineups, and none of them had Robert Taylor as right wing back. So maybe we were onto something, because maybe we knew that wasn't going to work. But we're not the coach. But I named like 42 people who could have played. I would have liked to see on the right side before it was Robert Taylor. So yeah, it was a tough showing, and I think we've had it coming. We've really had it coming because if we can't lose every time Messi doesn't play, that's just it. We can't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And that's
we
been
need
an
to,
issue. What Quasar says, yeah, our wing backs they go really high up, and they needed to do that, especially today again when you needed more on offense, but
and the
it just
midfield
left
seems
us.
obsolete.
The midfield was Swiss cheese, and that really put a lot of pressure on our defense. And I mean, it just looked disastrous for a lot of moments there, and New York figured out what to do. And I thought it was interesting because a lot of teams, like we've spoken about, will give possession to Inter Miami and try to play off the counter, but New York didn't do that. New York was trying to be the protagonist. Yeah, if you look at the stats, Inter Miami had most of the possession, but it wasn't that.
Did they?
No, yeah, Inter Miami had most of the possession. It was like 60-40 or something like that. But it wasn't, again, that the Red Bulls were just giving them and the ball and waiting for a counter. Red Bulls were high pressing, trying to get the ball the entire time, and they were just more successful in offense with the opportunities that they would have. I mean, the moment Inter Miami tried to push the ball up, they would high press, take the ball away right away. Like there was nothing that we can do on offense for most of the game. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They didn't counterattack. They were just they were constantly trying to generate something on the offensive end.
We are able to play out of the press. I mean, like we have all season been able to play out of the press. But the issue is that the passes in the midfield that normally feel like, we can make, where it gets past that first line and, we get that ball to either Suarez or Busquets or Taylor or Campana, wasn't reaching them. And it was just like, and I don't know if it's because, just they didn't have it in their legs or what it was, but like the passing was so bad. The passing, they were doing like little behind, little flicks with their foot and just doing a back heel, a pass that needed to go 10 yards, it went 6. Every Red Bull player were 3 steps ahead of Inter Miami. And I just, when you have like some of our players, that shouldn't happen to them. Like that shouldn't happen to them. And I just think that it was,
I think one of the things that they also did, Inter Miami did, is they needed to play faster. And the thing is, they'd get the ball and in transition, and they just could. I mean, sometimes it would take forever to get a play done. They'd hold on to the ball way too long. New York was doing the opposite. New York would recover the ball, 1, 2, 3 passes, and they were already in full-on offense, attacking, about to score on us. And I think that that's something that Inter Miami had to kind of work on throughout the game. Is Tata should have told them, I need you guys to play faster. I need you guys to play faster, especially when it's raining that hard. I know that Inter Miami likes to touch the ball a lot, and they like to build up slowly and that sort of thing. But that's heavily reliant on passing, right? And again, when it's raining 52 degrees, the ball isn't traveling like it normally does. You make it so much easier on the opposing defense when you're just still, like, how many times did Inter Miami get the ball in their own area and they try to play out from deep in their own zone? Like, that wasn't working and we were losing the ball. And to me, that's, again, another thing that Tata could have said is, hey, you guys can't continue to do that. They're pressing high on us. We're losing the ball. I need you guys, when you play out to the wings, play out far, try to get the ball, a nice long pass into the midfield, as opposed to, I mean, they kept trying to build from way deep on their side, and that was causing so many problems. So there were some adjustments that definitely had to be made. And then one other thing on the defensive end, they were targeting, like, they were doing a lot of, with Lewis Morgan and with Van Zier. Lewis Morgan and Van Zier were, I mean, it was so strategic. They were like, they would pull either, for example, on that first goal, I think it was that Christoph. Who was it that pulled him out of his area? It was Van Zier, I think. Van Zier pulled him out of his area. Christoph
and Aviles didn't react quick enough,
and leaves a huge space in behind them, and that's where Lewis Morgan comes in. And they did that a few times where they were able to generate chances and dangerous attacks because they were doing that same thing. Again, Christoph needed to notice, like, I need to not follow him out. There's no danger up there. I need to stay and cover my space. And I think that those are issues also on the defensive end. And that's why I guess I get to the point of there were some individual things that were going on there where they needed to recognize they're specifically doing this to us to try to create spaces. Don't fall into that. But they continue to fall into that over and over again.
You know, at halftime, it was 1-0. It should have been probably 4-0 at half, but it wasn't. And at the halftime, we had a golden opportunity to make changes tactically, and we didn't. And that is, I'm telling you right now, 100% the coach's fault. I'm telling you this, the from minute 45 to 65, when we got absolutely hammered and got 3 goals scored on us in very quick succession, our team did not adapt, and our players didn't adapt, but our formation didn't adapt. And because of that, you know, you can only ask, like, we can ask Christoph to do something so many times, and he's just not going to do it because he's too old and he's too slow. And he has to try and like think ahead of the forward player, because he knows that he'll get beat one-on-one every single time. So he has to make gambles, and they don't always work. He can only do so much. Yeah, I just think that we could have made earlier subs or just moved to a 4-3-3. We had a golden opportunity. They missed so many opportunities in the first half, and we did not change anything out of the second half, and we got completely smoked.
Yeah, and that's a good point too with Quasar. I mean, the moment I saw that first goal too, I was thinking the same thing. In this type of weather, with it raining and cold, and you get that first goal within the first few minutes, like that, I thought it was going to be. I don't think any of us thought it was going to be 4-0, but I thought it was going to be one of these games where as soon as I saw that first goal, I was like, okay, this might be the only goal of the game. That's what I was thinking, because it was the conditions were so difficult. It's like you just want to get that first goal, and I think it really got Inter Miami out of their game, like with that first goal and being scored on so quickly. They just didn't recover.
How many games also this season have we let a goal happen in the first 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's been a couple
3
already.
out of 6.
Yeah.
Problem.
They can't continue to do that. They continue to play from behind. And I think that, you know, we've really relied on some of the brilliance, the individual brilliances from guys like Suarez and Messi. And this time, obviously, Messi wasn't here to bail us out, and Suarez wasn't able to get much of nothing, because
he didn't have great touches when he got the ball. It wasn't his day.
I mean, he had that one where he curled it, and it was with his left given, but that was probably one of the best chances that we had there. But I don't know. I don't even know. Would Messi have bailed us out of this with the way that the midfield and the defense plays? Like, let's say everything was the same, but we had Messi. I don't think we would have won this game even with Messi, because of the midfield.
But Red Bulls wouldn't have had taken so many liberties in the midfield, and they wouldn't have attacked so many of those balls that were 50-50 balls, because there's always the fear of Messi, the fear that if you miss the ball, or if the pass gets past you, and if it's a 2-on-1 or a 2-on-2 or a 1-on-1, Messi's going to score. And so while I think we still were going to lose, because you were right, like they wanted it more than us, and even if Messi was playing, I think they still would have wanted it more than us, and etc. Messi's presence just forces other teams to not play as aggressively, and that would have been the case today, where I think they still, like I said, their game plan was just better and their effort was just better. But you know, if they don't go for as many of those 50-50 balls that we were trying to get past in the midfield, they don't go through as many passing lanes, because if the ball gets chipped over them, or if they miss it and Messi is going 2-on-1 or 2-on-2 and he has Suarez or he has Campana or whoever, like they're not risking that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't know what the score would have been. I just don't think we would have won.
I don't think we would have won either, but it would have still been a very different game, I think.
Yeah.
Messi's not playing every game, so that's like, it's not an excuse either. Like, and not saying you're making an excuse, but I'm saying, like, to Tata and the players and whatever, like, Messi can't play every game, and he's showing that. So people are paying a lot of money to watch this team and to support them, both home and away. And while that doesn't, like, quote unquote matter, it does, because MLS is also investing a lot in this team. Everyone's investing in this team, and not to say that they have to win every single game and win every tournament, but there just needs to be a better product on the field and just better tactics where you can't just rely on two players to either be great or to ruin it. Because, like, you're right, individual mistakes today, but then also individual cases of brilliant. Is every Inter Miami game just going to be us waiting for either one or two players to play amazing or to play terribly? Is that sustainable? I don't think so.
No, but I think, again, whether it was Messi or not, to your point, teams do play different if Messi's around. But the midfield, going back to the beginning of our post-game show, and for those that are just coming in right now and tuning in, the story was more about the midfield in my eyes. And to this point, like, Redondo and Gomez were the guys that were missed the most. And will Messi and the rest of the team be available for next game? We don't know if Messi's going to be available right now. Yeah, it's kind of doubtful because you want to make sure that he's available for the quarterfinal against Monterrey. But I think guys like Gomez and Redondo should be available, if I'm not mistaken. I think that their next game is going to be either the 25th. Well, I don't know if they play again, actually, but if they did, there's a couple of our players that are out. That
the Paraguay one got canceled with Russia, so
okay,
I think Gomez will be back.
I think Gomez and Redondo should be available. I have to look at the calendar and see if they had any more friendlies. But even if they did, I think the friendlies would have been like midweek. Yeah. So, barring any injuries or anything like that, they should be available come next game. But yeah, let's look through some of these comments. All right, so if they change the format, it will happen less early scoring by our opponent, if not at all. That's correct. If
we're in a if we're in a 4-3-3, there will be much less early scoring, I believe.
Yeah, in my opinion, Messi's focus is going to be Copa America. National team always comes first for him, and this will be his last Copa America. I think that he's obviously going to play Copa America, and I think that he wants to make sure he stays healthy, but I think that he really wants to win the Conca Champions Cup. That's what I think. Messi,
but also hopefully I really hope that we're starting to get closer to a point where MLS is going to have to start making some flexible adjustments with international breaks, or else young players, international players are going to stop coming.
Well, it was interesting. You saw that apparently that the Red Bulls
both asked for it. Yeah.
And it was actually, it's funny. New York is the one that approached Inter Miami to ask them if they wanted to postpone the game.
Ridiculous.
And Inter Miami said yes. Both of them agreed. And they were unfortunately told that
for one game and not for every other.
Yeah. But I'm saying that I guess the point is that teams are starting to want this, which is a good
thing. But they're going to have to start making flexible choices soon, because like coming summers, like this summer, for example, when we would want, maybe let's say 10 really good players from Europe we would hope would come. Maybe it's now only going to be 7 or 5 because they're going to think to themselves, well, in October, I have an international break that I'm not missing. Or in July, I have an international break that I'm not missing. And I don't want teams and players and fans to start hating on me. So it's not worth it.
In this case, definitely Messi would have had to drop into the midfield. With this midfield, 100%. There's no doubt in that one. Let's see. With Redondo and Gomez, we win loads of games. Yeah, they're probably in our top 5 players.
Oh, for sure.
Still, it's crazy that the MLS is the only league that doesn't stop for international games. It's insane. 100%. It's insane. It's crazy because you talk so much about the product and trying to be one of the best leagues in the world, or trying to compete rather with the Liga MX and that sort of thing. If you want to do that, you need to make sure you've got the best players available to play. And if you don't take international break like others, that's not going to happen. They don't. This is from Giovanni. They don't have an identity without him, though. They are very disorganized. So I guess you're talking about no identity without Messi. I think they have an identity without Messi. They've shown it. They just again, they were not consistent, and they were missing 2 other really important players today. So I think that part of it is they missed Messi, and part of it is they missed other players. Northern Garden guy. The thing about MLS is that Tata has the liberty to do things differently because of our playoff system. We don't need to do anything but come in 9th place. It's
but I just think fans will get really angry with that as time goes on. Like the MLS and Inter Miami and a lot of the sponsors are banking on fans being that next step forward and like filling out the stadiums and watching on the Apple TV subscription. And, fans aren't stupid. And at a certain point, like if the product is still really not matching it, they're not going to do it. And then these teams and MLS will lose a lot of money, and it will be, I think, a big problem. But that's, it's a time for that's another discussion, I think. And I want to say that, one game doesn't dictate a whole season. I saw a comment that said by Giovanni, this team still has 4 more points than last year and 2 games in hand. And that's true. And, we can't make all these early decisions and say, oh, the season's over, this, that, and the other. But I think what I'm more so like, what's frustrated me the most about this game, and a couple of times this season, like I've already said, yeah, we've gotten bailed out by a couple moments of brilliance. And like we have obviously deeper and better squads and better skilled positions. But the effort isn't there from everyone. And that's all we're asking for. Just try. Like, I think we were probably, in our preview, we both gave winning scores because we're Inter Miami fans and we want to win. But if you ask me, this game plays 10 times, what do you think is going to happen? I say Red Bull will win 7 of the 10. Or, maybe we tie 2 or 3. Like, this was a game that we was probably penciled in for a loss in some way, shape, or form. But it's just the matter of how we did it. It was the lack of adapting from the players, from the coaching staff. It was the lack of effort. And it was just the defensive holes, like things that just worry me, that don't seem like a one game issue, where we didn't have a couple of midfielders, so this game is a wash. That's not. I feel like there's a lot of weaknesses still.
No, 100%. This comment comes from X. Other teams don't have Messi, and yet they don't get this dominated and scored on. Okay, that's true, but other teams, are they also missing that many of their top 5 players in Redondo and Gomez? Do they not have a natural right back? I think that's something important to say as well. So I guess if you're making the point that they shouldn't be as reliant on Messi as they are, I agree with you. That's something that we've talked about before, that Inter Miami has to make sure that they prove that they can win games and get good results without Messi. They've done that. They've shown that. Today just happened to be one of those games where not only did you not have the best player in the world, the best player on your team, but you also were missing a lot of other key players. You were playing in weather 52 degrees, which for us here in Miami, it's like Antarctica, because it's 52 is very cold for us. And on top of that, it's raining. So it was just, I think, the perfect storm. Like it was just uncomfortable. And then, it was just people were not on top of their game. They just weren't.
That's what I was going to say. Because, you're 100% right. And like I said, I think we were going to lose, and we didn't have a lot of our big players. The international break didn't help us. But we had Alba, Busquets, Suarez, Campana, Taylor, Aviles all start. And those are 6 of our starters. Or, Campana,
I said 2-1. I said 2-1 because I actually thought they could win. I actually thought they could win. I promise you, because I looked at they should not have. I mean, okay, I thought they could win, but let's say they would have lost 2-1 instead of win 2-1, like I thought. I would have said, damn, okay, at least they tried. But 4-0 is not something.
And it wasn't close. From minute
I can't even imagine what that locker room feels like right now. Like that, I think that there are going to be some discussions in there, and you better believe guys like Suarez. Bro, Suarez, with the emotion that he shows on the field, imagine what he just
Alba
whatever
too.
he said in the back.
So emotional.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's still 7. I named 7 players who started out of the 11 who are normal starters, and so that's still. It's not like we were playing. I don't know if you remember last season. I think we were playing Kansas City at home, and it was an international break, and we had 2 players starting. It was Campana and somebody else, and we won. Like, it was like a freak game. But, that's when the cards are stacked against us. We still had 5. I said 7, but let's just say, even if you want to pull it back, 5 of 11 players who are bona fide starters, all-star MVP caliber players. Yeah. Compared to them who didn't. So it's still like it was an inexcusable performance.
Carlos says, well, the postponing from New York's side was about Messi's attendance money since they knew he was hurt. I wouldn't doubt part of it is that, but they were also missing key players as well. So, but I definitely agree. Yeah, I think that probably had something to do with it as well. This is an eye opener. Ace says this is an eye opener for MLS. If they want to compete, they should give international breaks 100%.
Or at least part of it. Like you
Yeah.
need to make some, because they can't follow the exact international break window because our season is in a completely different time as theirs. And so understandably, we wouldn't be able to finish out all of our games and tournaments. But like 1 week of the two should be, postponed or something like that. Like, start making small adjustments. They're
Yeah.
acting like it's not happening. Like they're acting like these breaks are not happening.
Yeah. Any idea when Farias and Kremaski will be back? Well, for sure, Farias is out the rest of the season with the ACL. And then Kremaski was seen on Friday mornings, yesterday morning's training. He was actually doing individualized work. He was on the field doing some drills with a trainer. He looked good. But one thing is looking good on the training field. The other is playing. So we don't know exactly, but it looks like he's on the right track. He looks good. So I'm hoping that within the next month or maybe a couple of months, I don't know, but he looks good, so that's always a plus. But Farias for sure out for a while.
Yeah, but we have enough, and I think, like I said, I'm not trying to say the season is over, because it's not, and we have a better start than we did last year, but we also have like 9 of 11 better players than we had this time last year. So we should be better than we were last year. Like, that's not enough.
That's a good Anna, that's actually my wife, for those of you guys that don't know. So Suarez is going to be Haslam in the locker room 100%. He's going to chew everybody out, and on that chewing,
I hope he does.
Point, he's going to start biting everyone.
No pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I would say, because I agree that they missed the speed of Gomez and the control of Redondo 100%. 100%. Those two guys were missing. How many times have we made that point so far in this post game? Those guys were sorely missed.
Sunderland didn't have a great game, and while he wasn't put in a good position, like, he's young, I need to see a little more out of him. Gressel needed to see a little bit more out of him. Campana at least kept coming back and kept trying to make things happen. Like, I don't think he had a great game overall, but he was trying to make things happen. Other players weren't. They just weren't running. Like, they weren't putting themselves in good positions. Yeah,
agreed. Nobody overall as a team. It seemed almost like they were just slower. They were slower than everybody. They were slower than everybody.
Maybe they didn't want an injury. Maybe they were like, I don't want to be playing in 48 degrees and raining. Like, I don't have a big season. We have a huge game in 2 weeks, maybe. But I hate that.
They didn't look, and I hate looking at these games and then saying that guys aren't showing effort. I'm not a fan of doing that, because I think that to get on the field is not easy, and guys show effort. But I will say that they looked different than they have other games. It looked like they were slower, like they weren't as sharp, like the energy wasn't there. And again, to your point, we don't know why that happened. Again, was it the weather? Was it, to your point, them knowing that they've got a full season ahead of them? This game, in the grand scheme of things, isn't going to mean much, especially when they're looking forward to being ready and available and healthy for Conca Champions. We can only speculate. We don't know. But we do know one thing. They look different. That's for sure.
And you're right. Maybe energy is a good word to use, because no one wants to get injured, etc. Like, I'm sure they put in effort, but comparatively, like, how is your energy and your performance compared to the person playing directly opposite of you on the other team? And today, 11 out of 11 players on New York Red Bulls had more energy and performance.
Well, to what you said earlier, these teams do get up to play against Inter Miami, so I'm sure that they wanted to prove a point. That they can beat this Inter Miami. That's one thing in competition and in soccer. These teams don't go out, especially the one when you're facing well-known, popular teams that are the number one team in the league, and Inter Miami. They're not going out there and saying, "Oh no, Messi, whatever." There goes all of our,
our training,
or what's it called, like our. When you like your will to want to beat them. No, no, they know it's Inter Miami. We're going to get up. Who cares who's on the field for Inter Miami? We're going to whoop them. And that's kind of how they came out. And Inter Miami just came out flat. That was I think one of the big differences today. Thoughts on the guys coming from the bench? Thoughts on the guys coming from the bench? Well,
I'd like Bright to play some more minutes
yeah,
and get some more chances because I think he's a very talented young player and hopefully he gets more minutes. I saw a comment too, and I think it's something that needs to be said is that Noah Allen has not been playing well this season. He's just has not, and maybe again, I think it's fair to say he hasn't been put in positions to succeed, etc. That's a running theme we're having, but I just don't think he's been playing very well, which
yeah.
is a shame.
It's
Because I like
it's going to be interesting for Noah Allen because we know that last season he played a lot of left back, and especially with Negri being on injury, so and all of that. But now that
Negri was on the
Alba's
bench, yeah.
there, Negri was on the bench, so Negri should be the guy that comes in when Alba's not playing. No, Allen's probably going to see more center back. We're probably not going to see him at left back anytime soon after Negri is back in. And Tata said that he sees him more, which I thought was surprising. He sees Noah Allen more as a center back than a
Yeah.
left back. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have much to say about Noah Allen other than the fact that where I've seen him shine the most was at left back. That's in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, but but anyways, we could be
Yeah, we are
we can we can
we are
talk about
missing
this
DeAndre
forever.
Yedlin. We are
But
missing DeAndre Yedlin 100%. Yeah, we are. You don't know what you have until it's gone.
yeah, I know we're acting like he was like prime Trent Alexander-Arnold for what we can remember. But look, we're back in a week. We play against NYCFC, the other New York team. And then we have CONCACAF players back from international break. Hopefully Messi getting back to health. We're going to continue. We're going to keep pushing up. We're going to believe in this team. We're going to believe in our players. We're going to believe in the coaching and hope it gets better. I think that we're fair with a lot of our criticism today. I just saw a comment that said, Tata said we played a disappointing game. There's not much to say. We were outplayed from the start. It was disappointing. We have a long way to go. All things that are true, but he doesn't have a long time to go a long way. So they're going to have to start figuring that out really fast because there is a bomb detonator timer on this team and on this front office that if things don't happen, like this is win now. This is you have these players for the next year or two. If we're lucky, you better make the most of it because you're investing a lot of money and time and energy from both the coaching, the front office, and the fans. A lot of money. And so this is win now. This is not build for the next 15 years with these players and groom them into, Barcelona or et cetera. Like this is, you need to get products on the field fast. And I think they can, and I think they will. But yeah, we'll see. That's what I have to say. I have to jump off in a bit. I don't know, Gian, if you want to stay or if you want to jump off also. And
Yeah,
we'll
I think
be back
we're
next week.
having fun. I think I'll stay just a few more minutes after you get off, and we'll get some. We'll focus more on what you guys have to say in chat and see if you guys have any questions, if you've got any suggestions. So I'll stay a few more minutes. I'm not sure. Are you heading out right now, or you got a couple more minutes in?
No, I gotta head out. I'm
Okay.
going to be at the Miami Tennis Open tonight. So
Oh,
if you
that's
see me,
awesome.
come say hi.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's even though it's going to be pouring probably, but
Yeah.
So Gian, you're obviously you're in very good hands. He's going to take over. We'll be back midweek. We'll be back with preview. We're going to keep doing more content. Thank you as always for listening, for your comments. But I will let Gian close the show, and I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See you, Ashley.
Bye.
Thanks. All right, guys. So let's see. What are you guys' thoughts? We'll spend a few more minutes here, see what you guys think. So, Gian, what's your impression on our new incoming right back? So, with our incoming right back, he's Chelo Weingand. He's from Boca Juniors. He was not the starting right back at Boca Juniors. That was Advíncula, the Peruvian, which is amazing. Probably one of the best right backs in South America right now. But he did start a few games for Advíncula when he wasn't available. He did good. He actually scored a couple times. He's good. He's really good offensively. I would say that when you look at the statistics and you look at their games, while he wasn't a starter in Boca, the stats and on paper, he's better than DeAndre. So in that perspective, it's an upgrade and it's good. So I mean, we can't have that right back much sooner. We need him. We really need him. And I think that, again, just based off of the things that Tata has said, he would rather play that back line of 4. So once Chelo is available, then we probably won't see too much of that 5-3-2 or 3-5-2, however you want to see it. So hopefully he'll be here soon. I think he's in Miami already. He's already, he should be in playing condition. So I wouldn't see why. Who knows? Maybe by the time in a couple of weeks where we're playing against Monterrey in the quarterfinal of the Conca Champions, he could be playing for us already. That'd be amazing. So we'll have to see with that. Let's see. What else are you guys thinking? Let's see. I think Tata will be under serious pressure if they get knocked out by Monterrey. I think so too. I think right now the goal. I think right now everybody thinks that Inter Miami has what it takes to get to the final. They should. You've got guys like Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba. Then you've got young phenoms like Redondo and Gomez. You've got Gressel. I mean, you have what it takes to get to the final, and that's the goal right now. If you were going to rank everything right now this season as far as what the top priority is, it's Conca Champions. So I think that, yes, he'll go under a lot of scrutiny, but we also have to remember right now, like Monterrey is one of the top team. They're really difficult. And these Mexican sides are sides that have a lot more money to spend. They're able to bring in a lot more talent than MLS teams. And then Monterrey is actually unique in that they have a lot of young talent, a lot of talent brought from within the club. So that's kind of interesting as well. But yeah, he has enough to win against Monterrey, and he'll face a lot of scrutiny for sure. Taylor and Gressel, this is something I spoke about earlier. Taylor and Gressel both positioned wrong today. Again, in my eyes, I would have made the change where Taylor is in the midfield and Gressel is the one playing wing back, simply because I felt like when the defense was struggling, you needed more defense. You needed the defense that Gressel gives you that you can't get from Taylor. And when the offense was struggling, you need the offense from Taylor that Gressel doesn't give you. So I would have switched those two positions, especially to start the second half. That's what I would have done. So the season is hanging on Chelo's visa. Yeah, you can say that. It's definitely important for us. For if you guys watch, you guys know I am anytime I see 5-3-2, no 5-3-2. It's 4-3-3 for me all the way. So yeah, we need Chelo to get here ASAP and be on the team already. Who fits our best back three with Chelo? Wait, what does it say? Who fits as our best back three with Chelo starting? So I don't think it'd be a back three. I think it'd be Alba on the left, and then it'd be Freire and Aviles as your center backs, and then it'd be Chelo as your right back. That's how the defense would look like. That's going to be your starting defense yet. So we've got some comments here about Tata being the worst coach. He can't win without a star-studded team. I don't know. He won MLS already with Atlanta, so I don't know how right that is. But I think so far you gotta remember Tata came in last season and took over a team halfway through the season. He inherited a team that also had new players come in. They didn't get a full preseason together to be able to gel, to be able to focus on strategies, to be able to get to know each other and how they play. And now he gets his first full preseason, also a preseason that they forced him to fly around the entire world. So it was kind of rushed, and I don't even think it was a preseason that he wanted. But nonetheless, before today's game, which was a unique game, again, a lot of things happened today where they were missing players. They're playing without Messi, without Redondo, without Gomez, without a bunch of players. I thought it was a unique game, but until today, I haven't checked the standings, but they were in first place with an 8-goal difference, scoring 13 goals, the most goals in the MLS. I think you got to give Tata a bit more credit so far this season. And I'm not going to say that we can't criticize him, because if you've seen some of the things I've said, I've criticized him very much, but I also think that you got to give him some credit where credit is due. Let's Let's see, Gian, how should Miami defend better against Monterrey? Well, number one, don't come out with 3 center backs, so you're going to get killed. Number two, make sure that Gomez and Redondo and Busquets are all starting together and make sure that they take care of the ball, because Monterrey is not going to be as forgiving as some of these teams when they force Inter Miami into mistakes. This Monterrey team is not a team to play with. They're not an MLS team. They're high caliber, talented, very good on offense. So I think to defend, again, they just got to make sure that they have a good back line of 4, that they're all speaking to each other and communicating right, and making sure that they're, a lot of times we've seen this defense struggle trying to I guess work on the offside where they're not all in line together, and one of them won't communicate with the other one steps back or steps up and they habilitate the other player, and it's just, they just got to be on top of their game, that back line of 4, and I think that as long as the midfield does what they have to do, and we've seen Busquets, Gomez, and Redondo just lock down other teams, I think that that's what they're going to need to be able to beat Monterrey. Now, what, like, taking a deeper look, that'll be something that I do as we get closer to the game, where I'll look at some film and you guys can watch the pregame show, and we'll talk about specific players and what Monterrey does to attack, how they like to attack. That I haven't done yet. I do that closer to the game. All right, so America and Monterrey are the best ranked in CONCACAF, and it's gonna take 110% from the team. 110% agreed with what you said. Yeah, it is. This is going to have to be, everybody's on top of their game, from Tata with the strategy and the instructions, to Suarez and Messi being 100%, to Calendar, to everybody. You need to be on top of your game to beat this team. One observation, middle miss sub like Kremaski when Gomez and Redondo not available. Yeah, I mean, Kremaski has shown to be huge for this team, especially last season. And when you don't have Gomez or Redondo, Kremaski would have been huge for us. But like we said, we're hoping that he's going to be available soon. We saw that he was training yesterday, and he looks good. So hopefully he'll be available in the game soon. I think that this team will be fine once we get our internationals back. I wouldn't take too much away from this game. That I mean, I got to agree with that. I think that when you look at this game in totality, it was very much a lot of us missing our key players. The only thing I would take out of this game is, I think that Tata, some of the strategies that he instilled weren't working. I wish he would have been, I wish he would have adapted more with the game. As the game progressed, I think if he would have adapted and made more changes as the game went along, I think this could have been a lot closer. I don't know if he would have won, but it definitely wouldn't have been 4-0. So I would take that away. And then also just the team looked different. This wasn't an Inter Miami. I would be more concerned if Inter Miami was going hard, right? Like just going hard and playing their best, and they got beat 4-0. This team did not look like itself. Until I see this happen repetitively, I'm not going to be 100% concerned. So I agree with that. Let's see. Don't play from the back. I mean, yeah, they had a hard time playing from the back today, but again, I think it's more about playing from the back and having 3 center backs and having Robert Taylor and Jordi Alba too high up, and not having Redondo there to be able to play out. We've got to remember Redondo is one of the key guys in this team, especially when they play out of the back, where he'll get the ball and he gets the ball and right away makes the pass to the front, whether it be to Messi, whether it be to Suarez or to Gomez. He's a guy that kind of gets the transition game rolling for us. So today, I agree with you. We should not have been playing from the back when we saw that it wasn't working. And that's one of the things that should have changed and said, hey, the way that we're transitioning into offense to defense, or the way that we're coming out of our side of the field, needs to be different. We can't continue doing the same thing. And unfortunately, he didn't make any changes there. Gian, do we have enough chemistry with the new guys, all our starters together, to start the match for our meeting with Monterrey in the third, on the 3rd, or do you wish we had more time? I mean, I think we have enough chemistry. I definitely do, because I think that, and I think that that was really important and really good to see, is how this team was able to get guys like like Redondo. And after his first game, I mean, he was just completely locked in. And I think that when you're bringing in high caliber guys like Redondo, the way they adapt to the team and integrate themselves is a lot faster and a lot quicker, just because of the high quality and high caliber of players they are. So I don't think we have any issues there. Like the forwards, the offense, and the midfield, I think they've got the chemistry. Now, chemistry wise, the only issue would be on the defense. Yeah, Freire and Aviles and now with our right back, if Jello comes in, that's a question mark. I wouldn't say I'm worried. I think it's a question mark. Is Jello going to be available? Because I don't want to go against Monterrey with the same formation we had today. I do not. I know it worked against Nashville, but I don't want to see that against Monterrey. So I think that on two parts of the field, we're good, midfield and offense. Defense is where the issue is, with where there could be chemistry with our new right back. And again, with Freire and Avila still trying to figure each other out, even though I think they've had some good games. I see us finishing at the 4th spot, which is fine since it'll guarantee us one home series at least. I do think we win 3C and MLS Cup, the Conca Champs and MLS Cup, though. Yeah, look, Inter Miami right now is focused on Conca Champions. You know, they didn't play good the first half of the season last season, and they still had a chance to make it into the playoffs if Messi wouldn't have gotten injured. So I think that they're not worried about that. They know that they can drop a few games, and I feel like they know that, you know, Conca Champions, and then after that, focus on MLS. I think that that's what it is right now. I think the team can win against Monterrey with a 4-3-3 with the new right back, Freire in center defense, and optimal midfield. Messi and Suarez will do the job 100%. I think that they've got enough to beat Monterrey. Redondo said in an Argentina interview that he rejected some Europe offers to come play and learn from Messi and Busquets. Think he made the right choice there. There's time for Europe. Yeah, 100%. And that's something that was already mentioned by his agent. His agent did an interview and they asked him about that. And he said that even those in Inter Miami front office know that this is only a transition period for Redondo. That Redondo and Gomez, rather. Sorry, I'm actually confusing them. So what I'm trying to say is that these young guys are going to use Inter Miami to gain exposure and visibility, because all eyes are on Inter Miami. So you've got scouts from Europe, scouts from Mexico, scouts from all over the world. So these young guys are going to come to Inter Miami. They're going to get playing time. They're going to showcase themselves. There's almost like a combine where everybody's going to get to watch them. And from there, they'll make their step to wherever their next league is. And what I was saying initially was actually about Gomez, where Gomez's agent said that Inter Miami is aware that this is only a transition period for Gomez, and Gomez is coming here, and that they've already gotten offers from the Premier League. They specifically mentioned Brighton, and they said a few others, and that they're expecting to get some offers going into the summer, and he could potentially leave during the European summer window. So I would say enjoy Gomez as much as you can, because by the summer he might be gone. And Inter Miami already promised Gomez's agent that they're not going to make any issues. They'll make it for Gomez if he wants to leave the team. So Gomez is one that's definitely out the door, and I feel like Redondo is going to be one guy that's going to be right behind him pretty soon, especially with his level of play. Freire and Avila seem to be in sync, but when you throw Christoph in there, they seem to have communication issues. Yeah, agreed, because they play better as their two center backs. When you have three center backs, it completely changes the dynamic. You're not making the same coverages. You have a lot more spaces in between you. The space in the middle is not as compact. A lot of times, if you look at Inter Miami's backline of three, where it's Christoph Freire and Aviles, or Noah Allen, Christoph, whoever you throw in there, there's a lot of space in between them, and the opposing teams put their center forwards in between them and just cause havoc. A lot of times they're so separate that you'll see one of the center backs actually on the sideline, like on the wing, because they extend and they come out to cover, because the wing backs, whether it's Allen, not Allen, whether it's Alba or Robert Taylor in today's game, that they're so high up. Sometimes the center backs, they're three like that in the middle, and then they have to separate and open up to cover the outside because there's nobody else there to help them, especially with how bad the midfield played today on defense. So yeah, that definitely causes a lot of issues, especially on communication, a lot of blown coverages. We saw what happened today with Christoph, where Christoph stepped out to cover dang it, I keep forgetting his name. I have it here. Van Zier, yeah. So Christoph goes out to cover Van Zier, leaves a complete space behind him, doesn't communicate with Alba, and then Morgan cuts right into that space left by Christoph, and Alba gets there late and they get scored on. So yeah, that causes a lot of issues on that end. One thing is to have flexibility to lose a few games, another is to have issues running back and a very iffy way to play from back when we're pressed. Yeah, I think that's one of the issues we've had from the very beginning this season is anytime we get high pressed, that tends to cause a lot of issues for Inter Miami, and that's something that's on the coach, and he's got to figure out how to have his team play when teams high press them and make it difficult for them to play out of the back. And you got to believe that other teams are watching this when they study the film, and it's not a coincidence that teams are doing this. They've realized that this is the formula for to cause issues on that back line for Inter Miami. You can't confuse them. One belongs in GQ and the other in I don't even know what that means. Gomez is going to Brighton. Yeah, he could go to Brighton, and Brighton is a great place to go. A lot of players have gone to Brighton, made names for themselves in Brighton, and then gone on to play for big teams in the Premier League. Specifically, we can talk about what's his face? What was the one that just went to Chelsea? Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo ended up being the biggest transfer as far as monetary wise for a midfielder, for a defensive midfielder in Premier League history. In last season, he went from Brighton to Chelsea. So that's a great place to go if he ends up there. I think it'll create a lot of exposure for him. He'll get a lot of playing time, and he could end up on a big team. Let's see. Gomez is, yeah, we said they get dragged out of position too easily. Yeah, 100%. They get dragged out of position way too easily. They need to be they need to be more disciplined is what they need to do. If the team gets pressed, then it's a disaster. The lack of communication is in the back line. It doesn't matter the formation, the positioning is all over the place. Yeah, at times it's that's why we were saying there's a balance sometimes between formation and actually individual play being poor. And I think at times we blame the formation when it's actually individual and vice versa. So in this case, it wasn't just formation. There was a lot of individual performances that were lackluster where they didn't communicate with each other. The reason they get dragged out of position is because they're playing out of position. Yeah, they look better in when we have two center backs. This team doesn't look good with three center backs for the most part. So agreed with that. All right. So before we end, I want to ask you guys, does this loss today, given all of the circumstances, where we're missing Messi, where we're missing Gomez and Redondo, where we're missing Freire, where we don't have a natural right back, where we played away from home in a downpour with 52-degree weather, does today concern you moving forward? That's what I want to know. Are you guys overly concerned? Are you watching today's game and saying we're doomed? We're not a good team. We're bad. We're not going to do good in the MLS. We're not going to, there's no way we can beat Monterrey. Is that how you guys are feeling today? Or are you just like, hey, look, this is a bad game. We're missing players. It is what it is. We just focus on the next one. All right. So Tony says, yeah, he's really concerned. That's interesting. Northern Tie Guy says, no, not at all. Anna says, no, this is a minor setback. We will miss players again during Copa. Okay. Missing players. So it doesn't seem like we're overly concerned. I think I'm not overly concerned. I'm not overly concerned because I know that we'll be missing players, but again at some points. But I don't know if we're going to be missing as many players as we are missing today. And I don't and on top of missing as many players as we are missing today, I also think we just played very poor. So I think for us to lose like this again, it would have to be another perfect storm. I don't think that's going to happen. And until it does, I won't worry. If we have another performance like we did today, then that's when I'll worry. Until then, I'm not going to worry. What would concern anybody? The signs have been there from the beginning. Today was highlighted. Yeah, I mean, but some of those concerns that we saw today have been concerns throughout the season where we still win. Concerned about the league, not about the tournaments. Carlos, we're still early enough where we should be good. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the league. We still got plenty of time. We're only 6 games in. Playoffs are not around the corner. Are not the issue, but CC is around the corner. Yeah, we should have our guys back though for CC. I think that what's important is that we play well next game against New York City, I believe it is, because for team morale wise, you just want to be at your top level going into a Conca Champions Cup. So I think that that's going to be important. If we would have lost 4-0 the week before Conca Champions Cup, then I would have been concerned. I'm not concerned yet. You need to make sure you have a good game next game before Conca Champions. That's for sure. I'm not concerned that much. I'm concerned that Tata's not adapting the opposition. Yeah, that's a valid concern. I think there are times where he's just not adapting and reading the game, and that's important. As things change within the game, as he reads what the opposition is doing, I think sometimes he either doesn't do the changes or he takes too long to make the changes, whether it be on strategy or lineup changes. Once we have a real right back, I will be even less concerned. 100%. That's where I'm at too. I think Jello's going to make a world of a difference for us. No, I still think 3 titles if the main guys are healthy and playing. Yeah, I agree too. I think if this team is healthy, I think we're going to win multiple trophies. If the second unit can't do the job, then that means that the team hasn't worked hard enough to get them involved. Yeah, but we also, I mean, that's true. We also had a lot of young guys come in that were second team players that were signed for like a game or something. The only worry I have at the moment is those early goals. Those early goals are killer, man. It's not easy to play from behind, and like I said, we've just been too reliant on individual, like on individuality in this team. We're having Suarez and Messi bail us out, and we can't continue to do that. That's something that we need to make sure we take care of it. And that happens in every sport. You never want to dig yourself into a hole early on. It's demoralizing, and it also changes the way you play. You come in with a certain strategy going into that game, and then when you get scored on early, a lot of times you have to change that strategy. It'll force you to do things differently, and that's not something that you want to have to do, especially first few minutes going into the game. Good, less worry, more positive is better. Yep, need to stay positive. That's what we got to do here. Always stay positive. To win, you have to be strong at both ends of the field. Yeah, that's why I said to me today, and I'll repeat for those of you that just joined, for me, it wasn't, I know we looked at the defense and said, man, that defense is Swiss cheese. Everything's getting through it. But to me, it was the midfield, because the midfield affects the defense and the offense. And you were missing key players in the midfield, and the guys that were there just weren't doing enough to get both to help either side. They weren't helping enough on defense. They were leaving the center backs alone against the attackers, and then they weren't doing a good job of transitioning the ball from defense to offense and getting Campana and Suarez into good positions and playing the ball into open space and getting it to where they're comfortable so that they can score. So that was the bigger issue for me, was the midfield. All will be okay if we play back 4 and all is back. Miami will finish top 8 enough for the playoffs. 100% agreed on that. You know what we're missing in the midfield? Gomez and Redondo. We are 100% missing those guys. So do you guys realize how important those two are now? I hope you do, because even I mean, like last game, I was still getting comments of people saying, no, Gomez is unplayable. I read that comment and I was like, how is Gomez unplayable? Like that's not. I hope you have an appreciation for Gomez now. Tata stubborn reminds me of Spo. Just waits too long to react sometimes. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Spo is the coach of the Miami Heat. We got a lot of people from different countries here, so just wanted to make sure. Yeah, Spo. That's a Miami Heat reference. 100% agreed. Spo can be frustrating for sure. Alfonso looked promising from the bench. Yeah, he had a great play there with Noah Allen. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I hadn't mentioned that. Yeah, Alfonso looked good. Played a few amount of minutes, but in the minutes that we saw, I really liked what he brought. Canada is winning at the moment, so it looks like the first game in Copa will be Argentina versus Canada, but there's still 20 minutes left, so who knows? Oh, that'd actually be interesting. Even though I think Argentina would obviously win there, but to play from behind, you need players that can do that. In this case, I don't see anybody capable of doing that on a regular basis. It's Messi and Suarez. If you got those guys, you can be down 2 goals with 25 minutes left, and you're still gonna feel like you're in it with those two, and they've proven that already. In the last minute, they've scored. Literally carrying the midfield 100%. Gomez is both an offensive and defensive killer weapon. Yeah, he's amazing. He helps lock down that midfield, and the way that he's able to push the ball forward, he makes it easier on Messi and makes it easier on Suarez. And he even showcased his speed a couple of games ago. Or was that last game? I can't remember. Where he took he had the ball. It was right outside the box, and then out of nowhere, he just shows a burst of speed, gets through 3 defenders, and then lays the ball perfectly. If I'm not mistaken, at the penalty area, was it to Suarez or Messi? Can't remember right now. But I saw that and I was like, dang, this guy is fast. He's fast and he's strong. And then Redondo brings stability and defensive capabilities. Yeah, and plus his playmaking. His playmaking is top notch. Gian, what do you think with Farias? Gian, do you think with Farias gets back, Miami will keep him and not? I don't think they're trading him. I don't think so. You need him. He starts over Taylor. The reason Taylor is getting more minutes now is because of Farias. He's excellent. He's excellent. I can't even imagine you've got Suarez, Messi, and Farias. That's going to be an even more powerful offense than we have right now with Taylor. And Taylor's great. I'm the biggest Taylor fan. And I'm not talking about Taylor Swift. But Farias, that guy is the real deal right there. So I don't think he's going anywhere. How are you going to get the ball to those guys? The backline can't get out if pressed. So that's one of the biggest issues, I think. And that was something we lost with Kamal Miller. Kamal Miller had the ability to to play a long ball out of defense and connect to the offense. And we don't have that right now. We don't have, if you look at some of the other teams that are good on attack, they've got players on defense that can play those long balls and pass over their own midfield and get the ball to either a winger or their center forward and get them a good ball to cause they just transition so well from that back line right now. That's something that we're missing. That's big time for us. 100%. To be honest, even with Messi today, we'll probably lost not by 4. Messi needs to get the ball. Yeah, that's something we said earlier. I don't know how much we would have lost by or what the score would have been. I just don't think we would have won with Messi either today. Because to your point, Messi was not going to get the ball. That was one of the biggest issues. We weren't getting the ball up to our attackers. So yeah. But all right, guys. I think I'm going to head out. Is there any last thoughts you guys got before I head out? Anything else? Let's see. Anything else you guys got? Just so you guys know, we are going to be, Ashley and I are going to be at the game next week. against New York City. We already got our credentials, so we'll be in the press box getting you guys all the coverage you guys need. We'll make sure we're on X. We're live tweeting you guys. We'll be getting you guys videos from the field early as soon as the players start to make their way in. And then we'll also be, we'll get you guys, what's it called? Some interviews. So I'll make sure to interview Tata after the game. Then we'll go interview some of the players. So that'll be a lot of fun for you guys. We'll make sure to bring that to you. And then I want you guys, I'm going to put this on here. I want you guys to take a minute to do this. Let's see, where is this? I have this on here. I need you guys to follow us. I'm going to give you guys a little break here. I need you to follow us. Follow us at Messi and Co. So you're going to want to type that in. If you guys have X, formerly known as Twitter, that's where we post all our videos. That's where we post our polls to make sure you guys, our polls on anything. What do you guys think the lineup should be? What do you think this should be? We put a lot of polls on there. We put interviews. We put all our little clips of our podcast and all that stuff. So I need you guys to follow that, and you guys can get all of our news. And you can also hit on there's a little bell there that says alerts, so you guys will get an alert as soon as we post anything. So let's see. Last few things before I get off. To be on 3-5-2 is not it. 100% it's not it. Let's hope this was the game where everyone sucked and they got that out before. Please, I hope this was that one game where everybody sucked at the same time. There have been times where, you're always going to have a game where you got that player where they sucked. It feels like we just sucked as a team today entirely. And hopefully, yeah, this is the game. With the right players, you could probably play that formation. Gian, if we lose next game, we need you to be the guy to ask Tata if he's worried about his job. I don't want to do that because I don't want to worry about my job. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing with you. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope I don't have to ask any of those type of questions. I like to ask the questions where we talk about like formation and strategies, kind of try to get into his head and understand some of the things he does, which is why I asked him something that we had all been wondering for a while was about that 5-3-2 formation. So I asked him about that a few games ago. And again, in case you didn't hear that or you're just getting in here, that's where he said I asked him like, Tata, do you think that the 5-3-2 formation is better than the 4-4 and the 4-3-3? Do you lean more towards it? Is that why you're using it at times? And that's where he said, no, I'm using that more out of necessity because I don't have a natural right back. So that gave us some insight into kind of what he looks at that subject as. So that's kind of like the questions I like to ask, is to get into his mind so that we can understand ahead of time some of the questions that we're going to have when we're watching the game. So yeah. All right, guys. So I'm going to leave you. I hope this therapy session was good for you guys. You guys got it all off of your chest. Now you don't have to worry about this game the rest of the day. You can go out, have fun, have dinner, have lunch with your friends, with your family, enjoy some of the other games tonight. You don't have to worry about this, guys. We talked about it. This was a therapy session. You let it all out. We all feel good. Everybody go. All right. You guys feel good? Let me get some thumbs up. You guys feel good? Everybody feel good? All right. As long as you guys feel good, that's what my job is here, to make you guys feel good after a difficult game. I'm going to move on and have a great day. And I'm happy you guys spent time with us. It was a blast today. All right, guys. Have a great time. Remember to follow us. Remember to watch our stuff on YouTube, on the podcast, available on Apple, available Spotify. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys.